At Growth Vue, we talk a lot about making impact through our investing. At the end of the day, putting together multifamily syndicated deals is not that complex. You raise the money, you find the deal, you find the debt, and you put the deal together. And yes, making money is an incredibly important part of what we're doing here. But the reality of it is we're all chasing time. And I ask investors all the time, if I gave you back your time and I gave you back your money, what would you do alternatively? And they tell me incredible stories about their charities, about incredible products that they want to create, and things and missions that they're incredibly passionate about. And that's the story that we want to share. That's the stuff that really gets us excited, because your vibe attracts your tribe. And we want more people who want to make more impact through their investing, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do. We have this one incredible life to live. And so we're taking this series and we're pulling back the Iron Curtain, and we're talking with our investors and sharing their stories so that we can find more people who want to join our tribe. Today we're speaking with my friend Ron Worley. Ron has 20 plus years of entrepreneurial business and investing experience, and I'm incredibly excited to share his story with you guys. Ron is a bail bondsman. He owns a very successful bail bonds company here in Northern Colorado, which ties into his story. He's a very successful real estate broker. Him and his wife are, and he also builds custom homes. And for a long time here in Northern Colorado, he actually owned a number of very successful supplement stores. Ron has an incredible backstory on how he got to where he is today, and ultimately the impact that he's trying to make. One of the reasons why he invests with us is so that he has more time to do those things that he cares about, like writing his book, Ditches to Riches. So without further ado, welcome Ron Worley to the show. Ron, what's going on, buddy? Welcome to the show.
Samson, I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm a little terrified by the background with those tough guy hands in the back.
Yeah.
What's that? What's that all about?
So the story, these are my Zoom backgrounds that I use from my book. And so when you get into my website and you become a subscriber or whatever, we send you a couple of Zoom backgrounds. You get to choose. This is one of them. This is the ring quotation marks from my book. I talk in the book about where you need to go fight it out, all your crap, and it's just a representation of somebody that's been in the ring fighting their ass off.
Yeah, I love it. I never trust a man who hasn't been punched in the face.
Right.
That's just a rule that I have.
It's true.
I think that's a good segue. Tell everyone about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, man. So I've been a bail bondsman for 25 years. That's been my main identity as a person in the employment world. But over the years, I've done many businesses. So I started calling myself an entrepreneur at some point in this 25 years. But, I don't even know what that really means, because I like to do things. So I start a business, we try something out, and then we get rid of it and do something else,
Yep.
And by we, that's me and my turd in my pocket. It's me and my wife.
I think you're the turd in her pocket.
It's the way it goes. Yeah. But I spend a lot of time trying to drag her into things, and she spends a lot of time trying to keep me out of doing something stupid. And she's won and I've won, and we've ended up doing pretty good over the years. So, but recently, I went down a path, and we'll probably segue into this at some point, but some health issues, and I started looking at ways that I could relax from the entrepreneurship. So, lots of hours and stress involved with being an entrepreneur, as you know. And so I started getting into the arts, and I started painting. So now I can call myself a painter, because I actually sold paintings. Right?
Oh, shoot. I didn't even know that. I thought I knew.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, yeah, that's so that was a couple years ago, and then I got bored of painting, so I stopped doing that, started writing this book, and so now I can call myself an author because I have a published book. So next, I'm going to learn how to sing so that I can serenade my wife someday.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I can't sing for nothing, man.
You can't. So, it's so funny though, because like people who tend to be like more business focused, they'll say stuff like, "Oh, I'm not very creative," but in a weird way, like entrepreneurship is a form of creativity, right? You're taking something from nothing and creating it. And I say that a lot, people ask me that, like, you get your hands in a lot of things. And I was like, it's kind of like writing a song, if it's on your heart, you just have to get it out and do it. And I love
Right.
that about you. It's something that you and I connect on a lot, is just never saying I can't, right? It's just like, how do I go figure out how to do
Yeah.
that? And I love that like limitless belief
Right.
that you carry. And it's just one of the reasons why I think we're friends, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And why we could fly off the rails too, because we
Yeah.
need need an anchor on that sometimes.
Yeah. 100%. Well,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So I wanted to tell you, I think you're 100% right, and that's something you can't teach in people. That's, all the mentoring we've done over the years. We probably both have seen it's not something you can teach. That limitless opportunity. It's
Right.
something that's born inside of you, and you have to sort of feed it and let
You
it grow.
do. Absolutely. You have to feed it. And I think that, there's, I would say entrepreneur purists, like people who just their entire life, they've done entrepreneurship. It's your buddy who's buying candy bars and slinging them in
Yeah.
class and making money. There's people like you and me who, probably kind of rolled into it over time. And as our skill set grew, we got more confident in our ability to go and execute that stuff.
Hmm.
And so, a big part of what we're doing with this series is really trying to connect the dots between, why people invest in their purpose, what's their mission, their passion, and the thing that ultimately motivates them, right? Because obviously making money is cool, but there's all that we all dream about, that thing that
Right.
we should be doing that we can't go and do because this thing called money and responsibility gets in the way. And I just wrote an article talking specifically about this topic of, we trade a lot of our time for money. Well, what about trading your money so that you can get more time later?
Right.
And you have a pretty wild backstory. And I'd
Yeah.
love for people to hear that, because it really speaks to where you're at now in your life. And it speaks to kind of, why you invest and think about the future, so you can give yourself more time freedom. So why don't you tell
Absolutely.
everybody a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'll do just enough so that they still have to read my book down the road.
Good. Your
Okay.
your manager would be mad if you did the opposite.
Right, right. So I always start off with the fact that I was born. Okay. And 2 years later, I started doing drugs. And I was literally 2 years old, and my father was this hippie, um, drug addict, alcoholic. I grew up with two alcoholics in the home, that later divorced. And so I had four alcoholics in the home all the time. Um, and so, my father stuck a pipe in my mouth as soon as I could use a straw. And that sort of started my drug history. That started my drug career. Um, I continued that on until I was 30 years old. And my addictions took me through some wild times. I've had two actual deaths in my lifetime, where I died for more than a minute each. Um, and I've rolled over cars, and I've lost my children. I've been homeless. These are all the things that my addictions did to me. Oh, and by the way, I was arrested several times. That
As a
kind of
bail
comes with
sponsor.
it. Yeah. So before I was a bail bondsman, this is why I can relate with my customers, is because I've been there. I understand what it's like to be on the other side, and to be scared. And I've also just put myself in a lot of bad positions. A couple of times I got arrested for nothing more than being blamed for something I didn't do. But what the hell was I doing there in the first place? So
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I've never copped any felonies, and I've never done anything so bad that I couldn't get out of it eventually. But every time I go to, for instance, I went and got my real estate license, and it took an extra 2 months because they have to go through my background.
Right.
So, and that
Like
hangs
just
with you
like
for life, man.
flipping the pages, like, wow,
Yeah,
this is good.
seriously. Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? So when I was going through all this stuff, I was blowing my life away. I gave up a football career that was promising at 18 years old, because I like to drink, and it was more important to drink than it was to play football and finish college. I was kicked out of college twice,
Wow.
so I didn't go back. So I did not finish that, and that's not even on my radar anymore. I do believe that college is not for everybody. So, but you know what? Over the years, I've learned that if you're going to come back from something, you really have to have a good recovery story. You really have to put your all into it and figure out how to reverse the cycle, reverse what you've done to yourself. And at 30 years old, that's when I was like, okay, that's rock bottom. I just had my second rollover car accident, and I was homeless, and I hadn't seen my kids in 6 months, and I was literally trying to kill myself slowly because I was too big of a wussy to actually do it. I'd made 2 attempts on my life prior to that, and it just didn't work out. So I said, screw it, I'm going to try to do a lot of drugs and drink a lot. At 30, when I got sober, of course I did that because I wasn't dying, and I thought hey, it's time to, well, really what happened is my heart was hurting for my children, and I needed to get back to them and see them. I was in Nebraska, there in Colorado, and I just knew I was ruining their lives. I was doing exactly what my father and my mother had done to me. They gave me no chance at all to have a fair shake at life, and I didn't want to do that to my kids. And fortunately, they were young enough that I could pop back in their life, and they knew no different, really. I mean, not one of them knows dad from back then. They were all very young. I think my oldest was 6, and she doesn't even remember. So anyways, I've spent the last 17 years just trying to make people believe in me, that the old Ron, it does not exist. And that person, I mean, man, I was still making good money. I was still making 6 figures a year at the end of the 90s and beginning of the 2000s. So I was still, back then that was damn good money.
Yeah, it was.
Which just fueled the fire, man. I was just,
right.
I mean, I did a
more
lot
money,
of
more
things.
problems, right?
Right. So I had to restructure and learn to make my life less chaotic and to do something responsible with the money. Now, if you ask my wife, she says I'm still irresponsible with money. But the fact is that we got a savings, we've got 401ks, we've got investments. We get to do whatever we want. We've worked hard for that, and you start to attract these people after a certain amount of time that when you fix yourself. So 5 years of intensive counseling. I went to AA for a while. That was super crazy. I quickly figured out that AA wasn't my jam. But I liked going to my counselor, and I went to her a couple times a week for 5 years, and that sort of straightened out all that garbage. I call them old tapes, so old recordings from childhood that just said, hey, you need to go out and beat on people, and you need to go out and drink and party, and that's what a man is. And once I sobered up, I realized that's not what a man is, and I don't really get along with those kind of guys anymore. But I get along with guys like you that still have a heart. And so that's been my whole motto now, is just to talk to people's hearts and try and coach them along and ask to be coached when I need help. So it seemed to work out.
Yeah, I think authenticity is a superpower, and when you're authentic and you can just level with people that, you're just as messed up as they are. Right. It's a lot easier to attract the right kind of people. And like you hear me say it a lot, but your vibe attracts your tribe. And that's a big part of what this series is about, is ultimately just to showcase the types of people that are in our group and all the cool stuff that they're working on and what they're doing. Given that story, is there anything that you would change or you would do differently?
I'm really proud of where I'm at now. And I think that back history gave me the superpower, I love that word, to just try things. And I don't think if I didn't go through all that, because the failures of all that is nothing is everything compared to failing in a business. Like that means nothing. It's just money. It might be a little pride, but being in a gutter, in a ditch, and not being able to get yourself out, that's real failure,
Right.
So I don't know that I would change anything. I'm pretty proud of where I'm at. If there was one thing I could change, it would be to had finished playing football. seen that career out. I now it's a lesson for my own children and my mentees, to not quit until it fails, and then it only fails if you quit. So,
Right.
keep going. If you want to make this dream come true, you just got to keep going. And I think that's highly important. And I wish I had somebody like me or you in my life at 18 years old, and that would have been very helpful. So
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, football is definitely pivotal in my life for just giving me the discipline that I needed to push through. And that's also one of the reasons why I love coaching football, is to be able to have that impact in young men's life early on.
yeah,
It's
100%.
super important to me. But, one of the things that you decided to do is take that and turn it into a really awesome book called, which we spoke a little bit about at the beginning, Ditches to Riches.
Yep.
And what made you ultimately want to write a book, and what do you hope will come out of writing it?
Yeah, so I'm hoping that people can relate to this and realize that their lives probably aren't as bad, and if they are as bad, that you can recover from it. It is a book of overcoming just a bunch of junk. It's how to survive your effed up life and build a kick-ass business. So to me, the business end of things was like the triumph, the trophy, the thing that mattered in life. Is I could prove to everybody that I'm worthy and I'm not that same person by just running great businesses. But there's a trick to it. The 10 values I use, called the Worley Way, those values are what runs my life, runs my family, and it helps me run business. And that's what makes me successful. It's not money. It's not how many businesses can I own. It's how well do you run them, and how well does your life operate with them.
Yeah, serving people first. And
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. Community is like a big topic in my book and in our lives. I do not like always being out in the community. It's tiresome at times trying to talk to people, but man, it feels good. It's the right thing to do. People notice it, and your vibe is your tribe, or how do you say that?
Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah. So, but that's very true. When we do something out in the community, people attract to that, and that's your core business. Aaron and I started real estate, and in the first month we had 5 deals just based off of the people we knew. We can pretty much start any business and we'll have instant customers because of all that community, because of our vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, back to the question, I got off topic there, but my goal was to have something that I could leave for my kids as part of my legacy. Maybe they could understand my mind a little bit because I've bubbled them over their lifetime. That, maybe they couldn't quite understand where I'm coming from and what kind of mayhem I lived through, and how lucky they are. So to leave that book for them was the ultimate goal. It just happened that it turned out to be something that a lot of people are able to latch on to. Yeah. So
is there like a specific audience that you're hoping would hear that message?
You know what? So I had to write the book for an audience, or else that was my main problem with writing the book, was I was writing it for everybody, and that doesn't work for a book. So it's 18 to 35, people with adversity. Maybe they've had life-changing events. They've had drugs and alcohol. Any of that stuff is definite, but anybody that's failed at business, failed at life in any sort of way at all, this is a good book for them. It'll help motivate them to get up and try again, and realize they're not a failure. Everybody fails at something.
Yeah. And the more you can fail, the better. And I think, the further along you get in business, the more it excites you, because you figure out what doesn't work. And it's just one giant game that we're playing,
It's true.
Yeah. The more comfortable you can get with failure, the more successful you'll be long term. You said something specifically that I'd just like to touch on a little bit, which is just talking about legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I think, starting Growth Vue, when I first kind of went down the path of saying I want to put together an investment group to take down large commercial multifamily, it was, about legacy. And that for me was financial legacy, from my family. I come from a family with no real financial means. And it was also about just making impact, right? And so I love to ask this question, which is, if you had all the money in the world, right, to fund your current lifestyle, and you
Yep.
didn't have to work for money, what would you do with your time instead?
Yeah, so I really like to travel, and I like to be on permanent vacation. Like, when you travel somewhere, and Aaron and I, every time we go somewhere, it doesn't matter where it's at. We look up the properties there, and we want to see what it's like to live there.
Yeah.
It's always fun and it's great. And we go to Mexico, and oh my gosh, we want a house on the beach. We go to Tennessee, and oh, I want a house in Tennessee. It's just beautiful and wonderful. And it's because the feeling you get from being on vacation is there's no work, there's no stress. You're just enjoying the place you're at in the moment you're there.
Right.
And I would like that to be a permanent feeling. I would like to be able to travel. And, over the years, last 4 years especially, I've spent a lot of time traveling to see my friends and family. Um, that's a whole nother story, but I started to realize that the moments that we spend with people is the most important thing. And that's huge with me. So if I could travel and just go see my family and friends, that would be my epic retirement.
Yeah, that's true wealth, right? And I think
Yeah.
traveling's super important, especially now, given the current state of things. Is it just gives you a ton of perspective about how other people live. I think we
Mhm.
tend to romanticize how people live, and maybe their life is better. I remember me and my wife got to go to Paris. I guess it was
Wow.
almost 2 years ago now, for our 10-year anniversary, and it was during the Yellow Vest protest. And they were
Cool.
they were they were protesting for wage equality, right? And raising a minimum wage. And I'm like, wow, I always romanticized Paris as if it was, this beautiful place where everybody just smokes and drinks wine and, hangs out all day. And, it's real people with real problems, and I think
Yeah.
that, for me, one of the things about investing is just, I have this passion to pay it forward through financial literacy to help other people ultimately get whatever it is they want, right? It's like if we put together really successful multifamily deals and those provide passive income for our investors, well, ultimately those things that you're passionate about wanting to go do, like really building those relationships with your family, is something that you can ultimately go and get and do. And it's because of the platform that we
Right.
built.
Yep. I think that's the whole point of investment entrepreneurship, is to do whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of pave your own path. Yeah,
Right.
walk your own. So as you're looking at your life going forward, why do you invest today? And really define, what does that legacy look like for you?
Yeah. So, the long and the short of it is I'm scared hoopless to go broke, and I don't want to be a 65-year-old that has to live on a very small income because I didn't save my money over time.
Yeah.
I always feel like we're nothing. It's not enough. The money we have for retirement is just not enough. So
Yeah.
I'm always looking for the next thing. And you've got your investments for today, and you've got your investments for a year and 5 years and 10 years and 15 years. And none of it has enough. So we're just going to keep investing.
Yeah.
And you talk about legacy, and I think I always think that my legacy is to have when somebody speaks about me, is to have something crazy to tell about me. Man, that
Yeah.
guy did everything. Man, that guy was an author. Man, that guy did this. He did this. I know that your name doesn't last long once you're dead. Like,
Yeah.
nobody talks about you 10 years from now, but my children, my wife, who will be long lived after I die because she's so young.
Uh,
Uh, they'll have something. I want them to be able to say good things about me when I die, and that's a very real thought, and something I had to think about. For your listeners out there, 4 years ago, having dropped dead for the second time in my life, uh, and this time sober and doing things right. And when I woke up, I realized that, man, that could have been it. And what did I truly do? It's not that I've changed my life since then. It's just now I realize what's happening in life right now.
100%.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. I mean, almost 6.5, 7 years ago, I had a panic attack. Legitimately thought I was having a heart attack and I was going to die.
Hmm.
And when I came out of it, I went to some counseling to try to like figure out what was setting me off, because I didn't feel particularly stressed or anything. And the conclusion that I ultimately came to was, I was afraid of dying because I still had so much left to do, right?
Yep.
So much of a mark that I needed to leave on this world, the thing that God ultimately put me here to do. And we talk a lot about investing. I think traditional investing teaches you to save money. It's kind of like this race to death model. And we
Yep.
live our life like we're afraid of dying. I got to save, I got to protect myself, I got to do this. As soon as the switch flipped for me, where it was about how much money can I deploy to go put that to work for me, or how much value can I go create, or how much can I serve other people, man, life got a whole more fun, right? Because
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about losing at that point. I was just, making money, putting it to work, helping other people get what they want. Byproduct of that is I got what I wanted, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think uh, if you put it in football terms, the Patriots, the last 7, 8, 10 years have never worried about losing a Super Bowl.
Right.
They've only worried about getting there, and they didn't play each game like they were afraid to lose their defending championship title.
Right.
They were there to win the game. So, from game to game to game, we just enjoy that process. And after you rack up a few wins, anymore, it's not about worrying about the failure so much as it is the success.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you. This was awesome.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you coming on, just sharing your background and your story. How can people, one, get in contact with you, two, pick up the book, and
Yeah.
three, maybe hear some other stuff that you're putting out?
So the easiest way to get a hold of me is my email address, ron@ronworley.com. You can also just go to ronworley.com. You can pick up my book there. You can subscribe. You can email me. You can call me. It's all available there. I'm on all the social media at Ronald Lloyd Worley II. Don't
You're
even try.
so regal.
I know. That's my author name, bro. So yeah, easiest way to get a hold of me is go to ronworley.com. Now, if you want the book, there's several ways you could do that. The audio is coming out in about another 3 weeks.
Sweet.
But you can go on Amazon. You can buy any version of the book, Ditches to Riches, How to Survive an Effed Up Life and Build a Kick-Ass Business. Or you can come down to my office, my bail office, and I'll sign it for you as you buy it.
I don't have to be like have a warrant out from my arrest to come down to the bill. Okay.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, that's awesome, man. We'll put all those details down below in the video as well. And yeah, man, again, I just appreciate you. Love you, buddy. And I'm just looking forward to the future. Thanks.
Yeah, love you too, man. Thank you so much for having me on, bro. That was
You
fun.
bet. All right, man. Peace.
All right.